What's up everyone, it's Trainer Dill, and in this video I have for you my Olivia Voldaren deck profile update at the end of 2001. Yeah, this is post Crimson Vow release, and honestly, I want to get the new Olivia card, but I haven't seen anywhere. I've opened up like 4 boxes, haven't pulled it. So I'm still happy with my first ever Commander deck and upgrading it and updating it. I might switch it back. I was trying to go for like a vampire theme, but I might go back to the Death Touch theme and the +1/+1 counters. But this is how it is right now. You know, there will be a link to the deck profile down below to the Architect, so if you want to check that out before I change it up. So yeah, let's get right into it. Obviously, we have Olivia Voldaren herself. She went, she throws parties, went to war, and now is getting married. But this is the OG Innistrad card. And Legendary Vampire flying, 2 in a Rakdos, 1 in a red. Olivia deals 1 damage to another target creature, and that creature becomes a vampire in addition to its other types, and you put a 1/1 counter on her. So, well, it's a ping, but we like to call it like she bites something. Then 3 and 2 black, gain control of target vampire for as long as you control Olivia Voldaren. So, yeah, that is her card. We got the creatures here. Start off with Blood Artist, and it's Blood Artist. Things will be dying, so you can ping and gain some life. Voldaren Bloodcaster, new card from the Crimson Vow. Whenever this or another non-token creature you control dies, create a blood token, and whenever you create a blood token, if you control 5 or more, you transform this and becomes a Bloodbat Summoner. At the beginning of combat on your turn, up to 1 target blood token you control becomes a 2/2 black creature with flying and haste in addition to its other types. So we can just start making extra tokens. Slaughter Specialist. I didn't think this card was good, honestly, when I first saw it. And then I tried it out, and because, like I said, Olivia is like killing things left and right with like her, if you get Death Touch on her, which I still do have a little theme going on to that, this can just get out of control. Vampire Hex Mage, here to remove stuff off, target permanent if they get a bunch of counters. Cordial Vampire, so polite, and whenever Cordial Vampire or another creature dies, any creature, put a +1/+1 counter on each vampire you control. Gifted Aetherborn, just Death Touch and Lifelink, just a simple get it down, get some life, have it as a blocker. Vampire Socialite, this is a really cool new card. This is actually from Midnight Hunt, and it has Menace, but whenever this enters the battlefield, if an opponent lost life during the turn, put a +1/+1 counter on each vampire you control. So that's really cool. But then as long as an opponent lost life this turn, each vampire you control enters the battlefield with an additional +1/+1 counter on it. So yeah, all an opponent has to do is lose, and you get kind of like a, what is that? Bloodthirst 1 kind of thing. Anyways, Vito, Thorn of the Dust Rose. This is whenever you gain life, target opponent loses that much life, and 3 and 2 black hate creatures you control gain lifelink. You can wombo combo with this, obviously. This can basically be a Sanguine Bond. Keru, Mind Eater. It has Menace, and whenever it deals combat damage to a player, that player exiles a card from his or her hand face down, and you may look and play cards exiled with it, so even their lands. Yahenni, my boy Yahenni, Undying Partisan. Love this card. Haste, whenever a creature an opponent controls dies, put a +1/+1 counter on this and sacrifice another creature, and Yahenni gains indestructible until end of turn. So it's a sack outlet. It gets a bunch of +1/+1 counters, and it's just good. Like, you can board wipe, or if someone board wipes and you have an extra creature, just sack it. Yahenni will be fine, and yeah. Got Dark Impostor here. Honestly, I've been kind of turned down by this card a little bit. It's so expensive. The 4 and 2 black exile target creature and put a +1/+1 counter on this. And it gains all the activated abilities, which is pretty good at times. It's pretty low down too. So it's mainly a late game card, but so expensive. You got nothing else going on. Falconwrath Forebear. She's also a new card from Crimson Vow. Flying, can't block, but whenever it deals combat damage to a player, create a blood token, and black, sacrifice 2 blood tokens, return this from your graveyard to the battlefield. So just kind of recurs itself. Vampire Nighthawk, Batman here, flying, Death Touch, Lifelink. A better what is that other one called? Gifted Aetherborn. And then Nighthawk Scavenger could be a better Vampire Nighthawk kind of. It has the same stuff, the same stats, but also it gets more power depending on the card types amongst your opponent's graveyards. Goblin Sharpshooter can be here because when it doesn't untap during your untap step, but when a creature dies, you untap it, and you can tap Goblin Sharpshooter to deal 1 damage to any target. So if you equip this with the Vorpal Sword or the other Death Touch stuff, then yeah, you can just kind of machine gun down your opponent's creatures at least. Stromkirk Captain to give all the other vampires +1/+1 and first strike. Sometimes that's relevant. The first strike more so than the +1/+1. We got Crypt Ghast to double up, to have Extort, but also to double up the swamps for double mana. Plus we're playing Urborg, so we can just get double mana. Bloodtracker, flying, black, and pay 2 life. Put a +1/+1 counter on it whenever it leaves the battlefield. That just leaves the battlefield. It can be bounced, could be flickered, whatever. But draw a card for each +1/+1 counter on it. Erebos, God of the Dead. Indestructible, isn't a creature until you have like 5 devotion in black. Opponents can't gain life, which is the main reason it's in here. And then 1 and a black, pay 2 life, draw a card, which just hopefully gets you what you need. We got Henrika Domnathi, flying, and at the beginning of your combat, choose one that hasn't been chosen. Each player sacrifices a creature, you draw a card and loses 1 life, or you transform it, and she becomes Henrika, Infernal Seer, flying, Death Touch, Lifelink, and the effect is okay. The activated ability, the 1 and 2 black, each creature you control with flying, Death Touch, and or Lifelink gets +1/+0. So all those keywords that the other one, like Gifted Aetherborn, Batman, and Nighthawk Scavenger, it can help out. And then we're trying to give Death Touch to Olivia, so pumps Olivia up just a little bit. Twilight Prophet, flying, ascend, so you can get that City's Blessings. And if you do, you can reveal the top card of your library during your upkeep, and each opponent loses X life, and you gain X life, where X is that card's mana value, or CMC, converted mana cost. Sangromancer, card I also love, just one of my favorite pet cards overall. Like flying, whenever a creature your opponent controls dies, you gain 3 life. Whenever an opponent discards a card, you gain 3 life. So a lot of creatures will be dying if you have Olivia set up. Bloodline Keeper, good old Dracula himself, flying, put a 2/2 vampire creature into the battlefield, and then black, transform it, but you can only do it if you have 5 or more vampires, and it becomes Lord of Lineage. Flying, other vampires get +2/+2, and it still has the ability where you can tap it and put a 2/2 black vampire creature token with flying into the battlefield. So yeah, I think that's super good. Just 4/4 vamps, basically angel stats right there. Blood Vial, Purveyor. Now, I think it has great stats. Now, its effect is, maybe your opponents can draw stuff, but I still think it's pretty good. Flying, Trample, 2 black, and yeah, whenever an opponent casts a spell, that player creates a blood token, and whenever Blood Vial Purveyor attacks, it gets +1/+0 for each blood token defending player controls. So it's a good swing out at 4 mana. I think it's fine. And Anawan the Ruin Sage, just good in vampire builds overall. At the beginning of your upkeep, each player sacrifices a non-vampire creature, which most of the time we will have vampires, so most of the time we're going to be safe. And if, you have something that's not a vampire, we can just use Olivia to ping it if, it doesn't have Death Touch or something like that. Anyways, we got the artifacts. And I'll just, kind of like a ramp package, sort of. But yeah, we got Soul Ring, classic old Soul Ring, Arcane Signet, Rakdos Signet, Talisman of Indulgence, Felwar Stone, Jet Medallion to bring down black spells, which most of the deck is. Mind Stone, could be draw also. Thought Vessel, so we don't have to worry about our hand, and Commander Sphere could also be draw. So yeah, that's that. I would consider this like the draw and search section, because, you draw some cards or search for what you need. Expedition map to hopefully get one of the lands if we need Urborg or Cabal Coffers. Vampiric Tutor, like I said, get whatever you need. Demonic Tutor, same thing. Night's Whisperer, good 2 mana, just draw 2 life, lose 2 life. Same thing as Sign in Blood. They're basically the same card, except this is one generic in a black, and this is double black. Read the Bones, scry 2, draw 2 cards, lose 2 life. Just 1 extra mana to like kind of help see what you might get. Praetor's Grasp, 1 and 2 black to just grab something from your opponent's deck, and I have so much fun with this card. Grim Tutor, get whatever you want from your deck, but yeah, lose 3 life. And Fire X in the Arena, just overall drawing cards each turn. I think it's an alright card. There are games that kind of go long, and the little value that Fire X, if you get it off early. If you get it late game, it's but if you get it off early, I still think it's good. So we got the removal stuff, and we got Vandal Blast to either destroy 1 target artifact or all the artifacts. Withering Boon, counter spell in black for creatures. They never see this coming, especially like Thassa's Oracle. Like, it's like one of the ways to get rid of it. Rakdos Charm, Chaos Warp, Toxic Deluge, Hero's Downfall, new reprint. Love this card. I mean, most of the time you have Olivia to remove stuff. So what this is really for is to remove graveyards, to negate stuff, whatever you can't do, you know, board wipe. And the fact that it helps Planeswalkers, because Olivia can't just instant speed take care of Planeswalkers. Same thing with Bedevil. Deadly Rollick can just be free, so that's why it's here in its exile. Vrasta's Contempt, again, exile, creature or Planeswalker. And Damnation, just a board wipe with that beautiful, beautiful Seb McKinnon art. I would consider this area the utility section, I guess. We got Sensei's Divining Top, the Ozolith, because we're doing some +1/+1 counter stuff. Fire X and Reclamation, one of my favorite cards, I think, if you have creatures and you're in black, just ways to recur stuff. It's a little expensive overall, but I just love this card. Lightning Greaves to protect Olivia. Braid of Fire. This is a really cool card where your cumulative upkeep, you keep gaining 1 red. And so, I've probably said it before, but with all that red, you can just use her effect and just her first one and just ping things down. Heartstone to reduce the cost of her effects. New Blood, just kind of added back in here for flavor, but as an additional cost, you can tap this or tap in a vampire, and then you gain control of target creature and change the text of that creature by replacing all instances of 1 creature type with vampire. Sanguine Bond, and of course Exquisite Blood for the Wombo combo, but you can also, you know, Vito's in here, so it does the job. So you go from 10 mana, you do 8 mana if anything. So those are like the utility cards and whatnot. And then this is the Death Touch package here. Very small, but we got the Gorgon's Head, Basilisk Collar, and a Vorpal Sword. And Vorpal Sword in its own right is like a win the game card. So yeah, this also gives it lifelink. So yeah, the Death Touch is the most important. The +2/+0 is it's all right, but yeah, you could win the game with that card for 8 mana. And finally, the lands. Command Tower, Voldaren Estate, new card here. Fabled Passage, Bloodstained Mire, Graven Carns, Sulphurous Springs, Tainted Peak, Shadow Blood Ridge, Blood Crypt with, one thing put in for this, she got me the Shocklands. So, Blood Crypt at the Markov Manor. Dragon Skull Summit, Haunted Ridge, Smoldering Marsh, Luxury Suite, Foreboding Ruins. Oh no, the Markov Manor. Temple of Malice, Blight Step Pathway, Castle Locthwain, Bajuka Bog, Urborg, Tomb of Yawgmoth and Cabal Coffers. And of course, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 swamps and 1, 2, 3 mountains. We got 1 Arcane Lighthouse so that we could make sure our opponents lose Hexproof or Shroud so we can target them with Olivia. And then Command Beacon, just in case she gets too... She like, often people want to remove her because she kind of controls the board when she's out. So if she gets too expensive, we got Command Beacon here to just cast her for her normal CMC or mana value. So yeah, that is the update on my Olivia Voldaren deck. Very happy with it. I do sometimes want to build the new one. I did once try out the Madness version, like the discarding, but didn't really like it too much. So yeah, glad we're back on Innistrad and she doing what she do. So maybe eventually, you know, I'll build a deck on the new one. But for right now, still love this deck, my first commander deck, and maybe the next time you'll see it, it'll be back to its non-like vampire theme. But yeah, for right now, Crimson Vow made me really nostalgic for vampires, so that's where it's at. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you guys think. Comment, rate, subscribe, all that stuff. All right, peace.